I'm going to show you how I have my Big 3 set up, but first I'm going to give you a little overview of my system, the way it is now. Got my MTX 502, 500 watts, 2 channels. Got my power and ground wires. Got my power going this way through the car. And got my RCAs on the other side. And I got the ground, which is the biggest part of the Big 3 upgrade, is we're up in the ground size cables. I got the ground going to the top of the strut tower to one of the 3 bolts. Sanded down the paint a little bit with the ring terminal and squish it under one of them bolts. Here's my sub, Kicker CVR 12, nothing special, does the job. Now onto the under the hood wiring. The first thing I did was I went from the alternator, and it looks different because this is actually a ZZP hot wire, alternator hot wire booster kit cable, and it kind of just played into my Big 3 that I have. Step 1, you're going to take, this is 4 gauge wire, and I would suggest going 4 gauge unless you're going more than a few thousand watts, and I would go to like a 0 gauge. Anyways, go from the positive terminal on your alternator, and the way I did it is I ran to the positive here on my fuse box, and then from there you can kind of see I have them tied together right there, and from there I went down here, down underneath this bar that you can't see it under there, to the positive on my battery. And from there you leave the positive going back this way, coming back again to feed your amp. And I would say that's step 2. So those are the only 2 power situations that you're dealing with here. Going from your alternator to the positive of your battery, and from there the positive of your battery going back to your amp. And now under the hood grounding is where most of the benefit of this system comes from. So you take your negative side of your battery, again with the ring terminals, and you just take a short piece of wire. I suggest coming up to the same side that you have the ground on in the back. Either you have it on your passenger side or your driver's side. Go to that side that it's on where you have your ground at, and stick with that on underneath your hood, same side. What I did is I went from my negative up to here, up to my other strut tower bolt. You can kind of see it right there. I sanded away a bit of the paint and just squished the ring terminal underneath that one bolt. And that's upping the ground between the rear of your car and finding the ground way through the chassis and the body, whatever way it finds the best way back to here, and it'll find its way quickest to the battery through this big wire. The next is your battery to engine block ground, and it's also very important. This is probably actually the most important one, because your engine block is your largest ground in your vehicle. What I did was, again with the 4 gauge wire, go from the battery negative up, followed around here, went around back near the firewall, and I actually secured to this bolt right here on the back side of the alternator. And don't let it confuse you. Bolting that to the alternator is not going to have any problems. Everything on this is all grounded. There is no electricity going through that at all. All of that goes through the internals and through this bolt only. So grounding off on that bolt is absolutely safe. It finds its way very easily to the block, and that's about it. When I did it, it made a huge increase in the sound quality and the volume. I haven't tested my running voltage. I would imagine it's not crazy high, but I would imagine it's solid and doesn't fluctuate much. The only other thing that I would do differently, and that I most likely am going to do differently on this system, is I'm going to eliminate the ZZP alternator boost cable, and I'm not going to be running it to the fuse panel. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go from the positive on the alternator and just skip past this and just go straight to the positive on the battery. I'm just going to eliminate this as a cheap mod. Don't do it. It's pretty much worthless. And the big reason why I want to get rid of it is because if I'm sitting in traffic and I got the bass going, and a low note hits, it'll actually drain voltage from the fuse box, and my car will drop between, I'd say 200 and maybe 300 RPMs. So really, it's actually drawing tons of voltage from all your relays, your fuel pump relay, all your headlights, and all that stuff. So you got to be careful, and I'm actually going to change this. I don't suggest doing that. Bypass all of this and just go straight to your battery positive, and you should be good. And that's pretty much it. I suggest doing it. I think all the extra wires, other than the main kit to run the amp, cost me like, I think I spent $25 on about 10 ring terminals, and about, I think I got a little overkill, but I got like 12 feet of 4 gauge, and it did wonders for my system. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll answer them. Hope this helps.